What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Mikasa Sukasa, and I am your host once again, Niko House. You are listening to our daily podcast. If you are on Podbean, thank you so much. The downloads have been really improving. We're actually almost at 1,000 downloads the last time. I know we're over 1,000 in total between Podbean's podcasting and between Podbean, SoundCloud, and iTunes, and Stricker, not Stricker. What's the other one? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Stitcher. There we go. We're over 1,000 downloads, but we're creeping on 1,000 rather quickly. I had a goal, just to get a little personal, because goal setting is important. Well, actually, vision setting is more important, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But I did have a goal. I had a goal of 100 downloads or views or listens a week. I've only had this podcast, as most of you all know at this point, for about 2.5 weeks. Well, about 3 weeks now. I would say I think today is the third week. No, I lied. 2.5 weeks. By the end of this week, it will be the third week. And I had a goal of 100 listens a week, and we are well over that. Right now, we're averaging about like 160, 170 a week, and it keeps going up. So I want to thank you all so much who have been tuning in. I'm hoping to get on the feature page soon for Podbean and for iTunes. iTunes has been doing very well also, and Stitcher is doing pretty good as well. So I'm glad that the show is growing. I'm glad so many people enjoy listening. I know that many of you follow me on YouTube, so thank you all. Whoever came from YouTube and is now listening on, your morning drive or your evening drive home, thank you all so much for listening as well. Of course, I want to urge you all to join our One Follow $1 campaign on Patreon. You can click on that Patreon link in the description, or you can go to www.patreon.com/mikasaesukasa. You can also, if you want to support the show and you don't necessarily have the money to do it right now, hey, you shop on Amazon, right? And I'm your favorite independent journalist. I'm pretty sure I am. I would hope I am. If I'm not, we have problems, people. But but seriously, click on that Amazon link that is in the description. It will be in the description on YouTube if you're listening to it there as well. And if you go shopping on Amazon, go ahead and just bookmark that page, bookmark that link, and that will help support the show immensely. You don't necessarily have to donate every month, but I know that a lot of you all go to shopping on Amazon at least at minimum once a month. If you're like me, it's probably a little bit more than once a month. So, but anytime that you all do any type of shopping on Amazon, if you use that link, if you bookmark that page, that helps out the show a lot. So thank you all so much for that as well. So I don't know if you all have heard at this point, I'm doing the show a little bit later in the afternoon because I had to go ahead and do some YouTube live streaming because this story is huge. So I want to go ahead and go to YouTube, and then it's a quicker process. We live stream. And then I wanted to bring that story back around here because it's a doozy. It's a huge story. Now, most of you already know at this point that in 2018, I've said this, I don't know how many times, people. 2018 is going to be our year, people. 2018 is going to be our year, people. And people were like, oh, you're too positive and optimistic. And I'm not. I mean, I am a positive and an optimistic person. Blame it on me being a millennial. I don't know. I am optimistic because there's no point in being negative, right? With positivity, at least you keep hope alive, especially if there's, some reinforcement, some evidential reinforcement to make you positive, like what I've seen since the end of December. That's why I'm so positive, is because, well, one, I know that Republicans are petty. I've already said this. And I know that enough people, I've talked, for those of you who don't know, I'm on the ground, people. I meet up with people. I meet up with politicians. I meet up with consultants. I meet up with party members. I meet up with people who used to work in the FBI or in the intelligence community in general. I've meet up with people who used to work at the highest levels of politics, and I don't talk about it often because people like to have their names kept out of these conversations. But I've met up with enough people. I've talked to enough people to know that the tide is changing because people are just totally fed up, and they do not want to see our country go the way of Rome, although it is looking still like that could possibly happen. But the tide is changing, and it's because of stories like this one, because of people like this guy. I don't know if you all have heard yet, but the FBI, or one of the FBI informants, actually came out and broke his silence on Hillary Clinton's and the Clinton family in general. He broke his silence about their involvement in the Uranium One deal. Oh yeah, we're back. It is back. You know it wasn't going anywhere. Didn't I tell y'all this? I don't know if you were one of the first people on my podcast, or if you've ever watched any of my other work, you knew. I said, oh, it's going to get good. I even said, people, I said, they are getting this information from somebody. Somebody is out there snitching, if you will. I said that there were a lot of plea deals being given. It seems like they're going for one big fish after one big fish after one big fish. They have a lot of information, and they even talked about getting it from particular informants. This would be one of those informants. I'll go ahead and read the story. This story originated, it was Sarah Carter. It's sarahcarter.com. However, it's from an interview where the lawyer of this person, of the informant, actually came out and said all of this. So I'll read to you part of the article. An informant who spent years gathering information on the Russian energy and uranium market industry for the FBI met staff members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, House Oversight Committee, and House Intelligence Committees on Wednesday. He gave an explosive testimony on years as an undercover informant, providing information to the FBI on Russian criminal networks operating in the United States. He also contends in his testimony and written briefs to the FBI that Russia attempted to hide its ongoing aid to help sustain Iran's nuclear industry. At the time, the Obama administration approved the sale of 20% of our uranium and mining rights to Russia. Now, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by Russia being involved in Iran trying to become a nuclear power. No more am I surprised in Russia being involved in trying to stop Assad from being dethroned. They're as aware as anyone else who's been paying attention that the United States is trying to monopolize the area, working with Qatar and Saudi Arabia and even Jordan to ensure that anyone who could be a threat going forward to our allies, our allies that we don't like to brag about, we try to eliminate them. Once again, oh man, that's a scary video. But I mean, because I know we talk about it a lot, the Wesley Clark video. But if you ever watched it, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? It's right here, people. The video's right here, and nobody ever talks about it. No, the neoliberals don't want to watch it. It's a scary, scary video. I actually know, I've talked to on a couple of occasions, Wesley Clark Jr. before he's kind of like fell off the face of the planet because of the Young Turks. They pissed him off. They tried to manipulate things he said. They told him lies, all kinds of stuff like that. So like, I know his son personally. And he said, yeah, it's true. It's real. I mean, do you need to, if this is your first time listening to me, you should already know this. But if it's not your first time, if it's not your first time listening to me, you should know this. But if it is your first time, the 7 countries were Iraq. Hold on, I gotta count my fingers real quick. Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Yemen, Sudan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Sudan. Hold on. Afghanistan, Libya. Well, Sudan or Somalia. It's one of those two. But they're both up for destruction, so it doesn't really matter. They're going to destroy both of them. If they have to go through Somalia or Sudan to get through the other, they're going to do that. So to get to Libya, which they have done. That's why Trump took Sudan off the list, in case you didn't know. It was so that they can go back into Libya. But this stuff is scary, and I'm not surprised that Russia decided to jump in and help in some way, form, or fashion defend Iran. So I want to continue with the article. William D. Campbell, an American businessman, provided extensive information on other counterintelligence issues to the FBI for decades, and he had also provided information to the CIA on various issues during his times overseas. So this is a guy who's been an FBI informant for quite some time, which means he's reliable, which probably means he's at least his word and credibility is trustworthy. This is a quote from this is a quote from William Campbell. For several years, my relationship with the CIA consisted of being debriefed after foreign travel, Campbell noted in his testimony, which was obtained by this reporter. Gradually, the relationship evolved into the CIA asking me to travel to specific countries to obtain specific information. In the 1990s, I developed a working relationship with Kazakhstan and Russia in their nuclear energy industries. When I told the CIA of this development, I was turned over to the FBI's counterintelligence agents. The informant's attorney, Victoria Tonsing, partner at the firm Di Genovo and Tonsing, said the following. Mr. Campbell testified for over 4 hours until he answered every question from the 3 congressional committees, the Senate Judiciary, House Oversight, and House Intelligence Committees. He recounted numerous times that the Russians bragged that the Clintons' influence in the Obama administration would ensure the approval of Uranium One, and he was correct. I'm going to read that for you all one more time in case you were, like I said, I know a lot of y'all listen to me in traffic. So in case you were dodging a car or trying not to hit a kid off their bike, trying to get, if you hit a kid on a bike, that's 1,000 points. If they're blind, it's 2,000. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's mean. But no, seriously, he recounted numerous times. This is the informant now. The informant recounted numerous times that the Russians bragged that the Clintons' influence in the Obama administration would ensure the approval of Uranium One. And he was right. Those are the comments that his attorney said on Fox News. I'm going to continue. Well, actually, no, we're going to stop right there. So this is an FBI informant whose whole job was to investigate. His whole job was to be an informant for the transactional activities between Russia and the United States in regards to uranium or uranium enrichment. This guy is now a problem for that. I pray to God he doesn't come up missing, because and we're going to get more into it as the article goes along. But this guy was entrenched. He was entrenched in the entire business aspect, the intelligence aspect, and the foreign relation aspect of this entire Uranium One scandal. And he clearly knew. Once again, of course, there is always that possibility and probability that maybe he could be looking for attention, looking to sell a book, etc., etc. But why would you lawyer up? I mean, he's a businessman, so that could explain it. But why would you have your lawyer tell you on television, tell the world what's going on television? Why wouldn't you do it? You're already speaking to the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's likely you don't want you don't want to perjure yourself by accident, or you don't want to say anything that could sabotage what's happening. You also don't want to say anything, in my opinion, on TV that you didn't or shouldn't say, because it could land you in huge trouble if you start releasing classified information. So I think this is serious. I think this guy is the real deal, and I don't think his attorney would go on at late at night to tell us this. Continuing the article, the recent revelations over the past year regarding Campbell's undercover work for the FBI sparked a Department of Justice investigation into the Obama administration handling of the sale of U.S. uranium mining assets to Russia. On Wednesday, he shared with the committee information he provided to the FBI and has in the past described his frustration with the Obama administration's failure to stop Russia's nuclear giant from purchasing 20% of American uranium mining assets. Oh my God. So this guy felt like he was like, yo, what are we doing? I'm telling you, we need to stop this from happening. So he's people, do you understand what this man just said? On Wednesday, he shared with the committee information he provided to the FBI and has in the past described his frustration with the Obama administration's failure to stop Russia's nuclear giant from purchasing 20% of American uranium. That means this. So remember when I said in my Uranium One podcast, or if you're listening from YouTube, my Uranium One video, I said that, and which was a big part, but a lot of people missed it because it was a lot of information. I said that the Obama administration knew about what was going on with Uranium One. This is proof of that. Now, it was reported that they knew, saying because they said it was FBI informants were telling them this. But now we know for a absolute fact they knew. And not only did they allow it to happen, but they signed off on it and tried to hide it. God bless America. Man, look, y'all, if you still like Obama, I don't care. You can like him, right? I don't like the guy at this very moment, but you can like him. Like somebody can like Trump, and I don't care. He's a weird guy to like, by the way. If you like him, maybe you respect what he's doing. I don't know why you would even respect that. But if you respect some of the things he's doing, that's different. But to like a person, you got to be likable. And I just don't find Trump to be a likable person. But I don't find Obama to be like a likable person either, because I hate people like Obama. I hate people who can smile in your face. And what do they always say? Whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Hey, guys. Are you all ready for some change? All you have to do is vote this black guy in office and I'll make all of your problems go away. Change. The audacity of hope. Man, look, Obama. You were either one of two things. No, one of three things. You were either totally and incomprehensibly incompetent. You are a puppet beyond compare at this point, because you tricked the American people bad. So you're either a puppet, you're incompetent, or you're as crooked as they come. The verdict for me is still up in the air. The verdict for me is I'm leaning more towards puppet and incompetent, only because I'm a victim of the mentality that you have to judge a person off of their past. Like you have to determine the rationality behind their actions, or at least their intentions, from how they behaved in their past. And Obama's actions don't really match the actions of his past. That's why it's weird. So I'm leaning, like I said, if you don't know, it wasn't Obama who was in love with politics. It was Michelle, actually. It wasn't even Obama who was a breadwinner in the household. It was Michelle. Michelle was worth millions when Obama was barely worth $300,000 to $200,000. And that's with his stocks and assets. Michelle was a breadwinner. Michelle was the promised one. Obama just spoke really well. And so, because he wasn't rich because he was a human rights attorney. Although, I mean, look at the guy. He could have been super rich, could have worked for a corporate law firm, made millions of dollars. Instead, he worked in human rights, which is why once again, this is really, 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 really weird. So I think he's incompetent. And I think that he got blindsided by Hillary's camp, and then he tried to cover his butt because he didn't want to go down as the most incompetent, puppeted, controlled president in history, especially as the first black president. So Campbell testified before numerous congressional investigators that his extensive counterintelligence work on Russia, and stated that during his time as an informant, he obtained information that Russia was continuing to aid Iran. And according to Campbell, Russia provided the sources necessary for the nation's nuclear reactors, despite promises that they were not sharing such technology with Iran. Once again, like I said, I'm not surprised by that. At the time, Rosatom, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Rosatom was seeking approval for the purchase of the Canadian mining company Uranium One. 10X, you all remember 10X? Well, if you don't, you're going to get a crash course really fast. 10X continues to supply Iran with fuel through their Russian company TVEL, T-V-E-L, stated Campbell in 2010, once again exemplifying how the Obama administration knew this for almost, 7 years? Almost 7 years they knew this. TVEL is a Russian nuclear fuel cycle company headquartered in Moscow. They, TVEL, continue to assist with construction and consulting and fabricated assemblies to supply the reactor. The fabricated assemblies require sophisticated engineering and are arranged inside the reactor with the help and consult of TVEL. Campbell informed the FBI of the close relationship between TVEL and 10X, both a part of Rosatom's group. He stated in his briefing that while spending time with the Russian executives from both Rosatom and 10X, that any mention of TVEL is a subject, quote unquote, is a subject that is serious to all when mentioned. I do not even raise the subject of TVEL to our friends, but occasionally they speak of it, and it is always in a very guarded manner. It was and so it says, it goes on to say, and when he asked the Russians about these connections, he stated that they occasionally speak of the relationship, i.e. equipment consulting. I asked Vadim Mikorin, you remember him? He's arrested right now. I wonder who told on him. So I asked Vadim Mikorin if they felt there was a serious problem and would they adhere to sanctions in Western opinion. His response was a smile and shoulder shrug. Boy, you're smiling in jail now, aren't you? Anyway. But Campbell had provided the FBI with the evidence of the criminal network and delivered the information to the FBI, which was monitoring his work as an informant and approving his transfer of bribery money to the Russians. So this is the guy that got everybody in trouble. Oh, yeah, it's getting real, people. Those transfers, which were made in bulk of $50,000 sums and at times delivered in cash, occurred between senior executives of the American Transportation Company and that's 10X, by the way. That's the American Transportation Company. And the Russian executives connected to Rosatom. He had given the FBI irrefutable evidence showing how contracts obtained from the same Russian energy company, 10X, were based on contract bribery and other nefarious actions. Senior members of the FBI, Department of Treasury, Department of Energy, and Department of Justice were also briefed on Campbell's information and were apprised of the various facets pertaining to Russia's acquisition of the Canadian company. In fact, Campbell had been told by his FBI handlers that his work made it at least twice to President Obama's classified presidential briefings. Ooh, double back. Do you want to hear that again? Senior members of the FBI, Department of Treasury, Department of Energy, and Department of Justice were also briefed. And his information made it to the President Obama's classified presidential daily briefings. People, Obama knew that 20% of our uranium was going to Russia, and he didn't do anything about it. Oh, also, the Department of Treasury didn't do anything about it. Oh, also, the Department of Justice, Loretta Lynch. No, excuse me. At the time, it was Eric. I can't remember his last name. Eric Holder? Yeah, I think that's right. Eric Holder. Yeah. It's crazy, right? So that means, of course, Hillary knew. And, of course, she knew that her husband was facilitating the deal. And, once again, Campbell said clearly that it was Clinton's connections that were going to get the deal pushed through. The Russians expressed, by the way, this is his quote, the Russians expressed a sense of urgency to secure new U.S. uranium business because they knew that the 2 decades old megatons to megawatts program would cease in 2013, Campbell said. Then Russia would no longer be guaranteed a market to sell recycled nuclear warhead materials as peaceful reactor fuel in the United States. I gathered evidence for the FBI by moving closer and closer to the Russians. By moving closer and closer to the Russians' key nuclear industry players, including those inside the United States and high-ranking Russian officials who would visit. Despite the insurmountable evidence collected by Campbell, the Obama administration's Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States approved Russia's purchase for Uranium One in the fall of 2010. Light bulb. And here's why I say light bulb. We all know that Barack Obama got elected in 2008, correct? 2010 comes. This deal gets approved. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal. We were all trying to figure out why Obama would unquestionably back Hillary Clinton in the primaries. We all figured out why Obama kind of went. He wasn't as hopeful going forward. In fact, everything that he did was a grave compromise. Like he compromised, quote unquote, compromised on ACA. It ended up just going straight to the insurance companies. Everything he did was a huge compromise after 2008. He started off doing pretty well. I wish he would have held Wall Street more accountable, but I understand why it's a little difficult to do that at time. Although he should have held the banks more accountable as well, instead of fixing them without any consequence. However, he did save a lot of jobs in Michigan and other Midwestern states by that bailout. So I get that. Because let's be honest, we know that the Congress, the legislature in general, was bought off. So they weren't going to hold Wall Street accountable, no matter what legislation you put down there. And who knows? I want to be very clear about something, because I sound very anti-Obama, so I want to be clear and objective about something. The president does not write legislation, people. The president signs off on it, and there's no way in hell that a president could read an entire piece of legislation and do everything else they have to do. So in Obama's mind, when that bailout happened, it's highly likely that he thought that Wall Street was going to be held accountable. There's a really good chance that he thought that. So all he saw was, this is how many jobs are going to be created, this is how many jobs are going to be saved, this is what it's going to do for the economy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if this is true, there's a really good chance that the Obama administration, that Obama himself, was worried that this is something that could come back to bite him in the ass. So when he was asked to, of course, that and the Clinton email scandal. It's one of those blackmail situations where, because Obama's a black male. But I think it's one of those blackmail situations where he couldn't do anything. He came into that office, he didn't know who was being hired. They were picked for him. The moment he put Hillary Clinton in power, it was over for him. He tried to be far too compromising, to the point where he never got control over his administration ever again. To the point where he's even, I think that he's even been coming out and speaking. Apparently CBS just hired John Brennan, former CIA director in charge of a disinformation campaign. Hold on, speaks. I'm trying to see if I think Obama just gave a speech regarding Russia. No, I think that it was January 8th, 2017. It doesn't help. So on January 12th, there you go. I think that's what I'm referring to. January 12th, 2018. I'm going to see if y'all can hear this. Barack Obama gave a quick briefing about how the Russians exploited. Actually, I'm going to read it to y'all. So one of the biggest challenges of our democracy is the degree to which we don't share a common baseline of facts. Maybe because, and this is from Obama said this. And it's like, yeah, maybe because you all lie and create so much misinformation and disinformation that it's kind of hard to believe things that you say. But I think that nobody's really disagreed that Russia wants to not. They're considered our competition because we make it that way, because they understand that we are trying to imperialize and take over the world. I don't think there's anybody disagreeing with that. Nobody disagreed that Russia may have tried to influence the election. In fact, I probably expect and suspect every superpower in the world has tried to influence our elections, whether it be Saudi Arabia, whether it be Iraq, whether it be Iran, whether it be Qatar, whether it be Israel. Like, that's what I expect from superpowers who see us as their biggest competition. So I think that's a pretty common baseline of facts. We know that Russia is not our, I don't want to say they're not our friends, but they're not the friend. Our governments are not friendly. That we agree on. But anyway, he went on to discuss the use of social media in his 2007 campaign, noting that at the time people didn't realize its power and quote unquote potential dangers of platforms like Twitter and Facebook. We were some of the earliest adapters of social media, he said, of his campaign staff. And we were reliant on a bunch of 22 and 23-year-old kids and volunteers that they were communicate entirely through social media. We essentially built what ended up being the most effective political campaign probably in modern political history, except for Bernie Sanders. But that's a different discussion. So I had a very optimistic feeling about it. I think what we missed was the degree to which people who are in power can in fact manipulate that to propagandize. Oh God. Letterman then quipped, I was under the impression that Twitter would be the mechanism by which truth was told around the world. Oh yeah. And I think that's probably more accurate. Good job. Good job, Letterman. Maybe I need to watch the rest of that interview. But if you are getting all of your information off of algorithms being sent through a phone, and it's just reinforcing whatever biases you have, which is the pattern that develops, he said, at a certain point, you just live in a bubble. And that's part of why our politics is so polarized right now. I think it's a solvable problem, but I think it's one that we have to spend a lot of time working to think about. Actually, that's a pretty true statement. So I guess he didn't actually say anything about Obama. Oh, of course. This is by Saba Hamady, and that's a little bit irritating. So this is why I don't go to CNN and try to sell it to you all as facts. Obama explained. This is what the title of the article says. Obama explains what the Russians exploited in an interview, quote unquote, what the Russians exploited in an interview with David Letterman. And so it says, quote unquote, what the Russians exploited, but it was already here, is we're operating on completely different information universes, Obama told Letterman. So like that's all it talks about. And then it talks about it goes into the social media thing. But that was it. They made it seem like it was the biggest. I hate CNN sometimes. But some of what Obama said was true, but it's deceptive. And I don't agree with it. Like, once again, they were such a big problem for you and your administration that you decided to sell them 20% of our uranium that they were going to give to Iran after you struck a deal with Iran. Peculiarly enough. But yeah, guys, this is some huge news. I'm interested to see how it moves forward, how the investigation itself moves forward, and I hope that you all, if you have anything that you see, if you follow me on Twitter at Niko CSFB or on Facebook, Niko D House, definitely send me whatever information you have. Tag me with it, whatever you find, because there's new information coming out every day. And I'm one-man wrecking crew at this point. Sometimes when you're a one-man wrecking crew, you miss a couple of spots. And I definitely thank you all who already do that. So with that being said, everybody, like I said, hey, go to that Amazon link and bookmark that. Help out the show a little bit. You're going to shop on Amazon anyway, and I'm your favorite independent journalist. And if I wasn't, I am now. Seriously, though. Yeah, help out the show, or if you're part of the Patreon $1 Follow $1 campaign, that's awesome as well. All of those things help. And of course, if you're not going to do any of that, sharing is just as helpful. So thank you all so very much. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.